The Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power's Season 1 finale resolved the long-standing question of who Halbrand and the stranger really were, while also setting the stage for an even bigger adventure in Season 2. The Harfoots Nori, Poppy, Marigold, and Sadok followed the stranger, while the Dweller, the Ascetic, and the Nomad tracked him in the hope of rescuing their tall comrade from the peril that awaited him. The shape-shifting Dweller lured the stranger into their trap by posing as Nori, allowing the Mystics to overtake the stranger first. But instead of wanting to hurt him, they wanted to help him. They attempted to pull back the curtain that concealed the stranger's memories because they thought he was actually the Dark Lord Sauron. The stranger's buddies halted them, nevertheless, by staging a wild rescue that involved throwing rocks at the robed individuals and using misdirection. The stranger saved the Harfoots and used even more astounding artillery when they found themselves outmatched. The Mystics noted that he was the other, and they soon realized they had been mistaken about him. Although we were never told which particular Astari wizard the stranger was one. The few Astari we are aware of are Saruman the White, the original leader, Gandalf the Grey, Radagast the Brown, who loves nature, and Aladar and Palanda, the reclusive blue wizards who went into the far east of Middle-earth. In the books, the Astari are physically strong and incredibly intelligent, despite appearing as men in advanced age. The stranger cast the Mystics back into the darkness they had come from using light. Unfortunately, Sadok suffered serious injuries during the struggle and realized he was running out of time. The Harfoot elder kept the atmosphere upbeat and chose to observe the sunrise rather than wallow in melancholy. He afterwards passed away quietly while seated with his pals. It was soon time for another goodbye as the remaining trio and the stranger joined the other Harfoots. The stranger was traveling with Nori towards the direction of his constellations on the map that Sadok had given him. The young Harfoot and her wizard companion set out after bidding her friends and family a tearful farewell, following the scent of something the stranger recognized as sweet. The Númenóreans aboard the ship were in a melancholy mood as Queen Regent Miriel got used to her new blindness. Elendil had promised to stick by her side through it all, so she wouldn't have to deal with everything alone. When they got home, additional ships with black sails informed them that the monarch had died. The monarch forewarned Irian, whom he confused for Miriel before he died, to stick to the traditional customs or the island would perish. He showed her the doorway to the hidden passageway that went to the Palantir's chamber. Following Mount Doom's eruption, Galadriel and Halbrand traveled to a region so that the latter might obtain elf medical attention for his injuries. The elves' window of opportunity was closing, and they had little mithril left to use to save their people. The elves were declared out of time by the High King Gil-galad, meaning they had to leave Middle-earth right now and go back to Valinor, or else they would perish. Although he gave Celebrimbor the order to evacuate the city, the ruler of a region wasn't yet ready to give up. To harness the ore's power, the master craftsman collaborated with Halbrand, who identified himself as a fellow blacksmith. They labored with the wild material for weeks. Halbrand, who appeared to be influencing Celebrimbor more and more each day, roused Galadriel's suspicions in the meantime. 1,000 years ago, the king of the Southlands passed away without leaving any heirs, she discovered after consulting old records. Halbrand was in fact telling a lie about his identity. He revealed his actual nature as Sauron when she confronted him. But like a true gaslighter, Sauron invaded her head and tried to trick her into believing the Dark Lord was trying to aid Middle-earth by showing her a vision of her deceased brother Finrod. He offered her a seat next to him as his queen when she resisted. The evil ruler became enraged when she rejected him once more. Elrond discovered Galadriel on the verge of drowning like she did in her vision. When they both got back to Celebrimbor's work tower after he had rescued her from the river, they discovered Halbrand was gone. He received what he required, and Galadriel desired that the elves had their own weapon. 3 new rings were made. Nenya, the Ring of Light, Vilya, the Ring of Air, and Nerya, the Ring of Fire, the Ring of Adamant, worn by Galadriel. Since Finrod's dagger was made of the purest gold and silver from Valinor, Celebrimbor melted it down and mixed it with a piece of mithril to make the jewelry. Halbrand eventually crept up to a ledge where he finally caught sight of the massive volcano off in the distance. He was in Mordor, his new home.